Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
You ever have like a fast week that's also like really long at the same time?
Yeah, I think, dude, I think I'm currently having one of those
Me
weeks.
too.
So, yeah, here's how my week started. So Monday, normal day on Monday. No, nothing really crazy happened. I was fairly busy, but I got a lot done. Right, and then Tuesday happens, and around lunchtime on Tuesday, I start feeling a little sick. Right, got a little scratchy throat, a little dryness in the chest, got a little sinus. If you guys can hear, I got like
A little bit,
sinus
yeah.
pressure built up as we speak. I'm hopped up on cold medicine, so I'm powering through the show. And so Tuesday afternoon, I start feeling it, and then I get home, and about 5 o'clock, my wife comes down the stairs. She goes, "You need to take a COVID test." I'm like, "Why is that?" She goes, "Because our friends who were just at their house on Saturday all day for their baby's 1 year birthday, they all have COVID, including the baby." And I was like I was the one holding the baby like a lot of the time. I'm
Oh
holding this
no.
little kid, and I'm like throwing him up in the air. We're like face to face. He's hugging me, the whole thing, right? I'm like, "Oh shit!" So, and they tested positive, and they're like pretty badly sick, right? They're pulling through. Everybody's okay, but they were like feeling it, right? So I'm like, oh crap. So we have a COVID test in the bathroom. So I take a COVID test and I'm negative. I'm like, phew, thank God, right? But then I wake up the next morning and I'm feeling a little bit worse. And so I texted my boss and I texted my commander because my commander and I on Monday, we were in a 2-hour meeting together where we reviewed 104 slides on a PowerPoint presentation while Monday Night Football
Ugh.
was on.
Oh,
So the 49ers are winning, right? So I'm like going crazy, right, at this point. So we're in that meeting, but me and her were sitting next to each other. I'm like, oh shit. So I had to text her. I texted my boss and I was like, I don't really trust the home test. I'm gonna go to the clinic and I'm gonna do the walk-in test. Went and I did at the walk-in clinic and they tested me. And thank God, a little later that day, it still tested negative. But they were like, when they told me like, oh, you tested negative, but they go, but in like 2 or 3 days, you could end up being positive. I'm like, well, what the fuck are we doing? I hate this stupid COVID shit.
this COVID sucks. Didn't you have? When
Yeah.
was the last time you had it? God, I hate these
I
conversations.
I had it in January.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I've taken 2 tests and they're both negative, so I'm gonna go with the assumption that I'm negative. Although it seems fishy that I wouldn't have it considering my prolonged exposure to several people who've had it.
Yeah, I can't see. I can't see how you don't. To be quite
Yeah.
frank. I thought I had it earlier this fall. Turned out we had a bout of strep throat that went through the family
Mm.
because everyone forgets there are other things.
Yeah. So they tested me for that and tested me for RSV, and I was negative on all those things.
Well, you got to have something.
Yeah, it's either one of those things that's gonna show up on a test later, but it's probably just a cold. So I've just
Oh
been
yeah,
powering through. Yeah,
those exist.
the cold still exists, and that's why I'm all hopped up on Dayquil. So
Miracle drug.
oh yeah, but yeah, my week has been fast and long at the same time. So kind of weird.
Same. Like just getting adjusted to this school stuff still. We're almost 2 months in to the school year, which is
Wow,
wild to me. It's going fast.
you're like a
Um
veteran teacher now.
uh, no. We have an institute day tomorrow, and I'm really excited about that, which means I have to go to school for a half day and listen to meetings. I don't know
Hmm.
what they're gonna be about because every time I ask, I get a well, so I'm guessing bullshit. So, and then we have the kids have a 4-day week, so we're off Monday, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So it's been between the Saturday freelance gigs and because I just don't go to school and leave at 3. Like I'm there till about 6 or 7 at night every night with my
Wow.
other responsibilities and coaching, and it's been a lot, man. It went from being, I work at home freelance full time to I have a full time job plus, and
Yeah.
it's been a change. Let me tell you.
Yeah, time management is a tough thing to learn. Um, but hey, JD, we have it's not breaking news, but I just like to hit the button. Can I hit the button?
Hit the button.
All right.
Breaking news.
Never ask to hit that button. Always hit that button when you feel the need.
I just like it so much.
Me
It's so
too.
cool. Yeah.
Me too.
Um, so last night on Wrestling Observer Radio that came out after AEW Dynamite, somebody who was recently on Impact, we've talked about a lot here. We actually, in our little group chat, we had high hopes for this guy, but Bandido, Dave Meltzer said that he had basically had signed a contract, or that he had agreed to terms for a deal with AEW. And then earlier today, Bandido himself did an interview with Mas Lucha saying that he has not actually signed the deal, and that he actually even has an offer on the table from WWE. Which I guess we could probably rule out him ever coming back to Impact, or at least in the near future. But where do we see Bandido heading? I mean, could both deals fall through? Like, what are we looking at here? What's going on with this guy?
In the same interview, he also said, "I'm probably going to sign with AEW."
Yeah, he's kind of tipping his hand, right?
A little bit. I think this is one of those cases where, if you want to know what's going on, right? This happens weekly. Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer, somebody has a report. And when you're a journalist, unless you're TMZ, as we also saw last night,
Yeah,
you get verification of reports. Like you get a story and you ask multiple sources to verify, right? And this happens. And then the wrestler will come out and say, that is not true. And then legions of stupid people on Twitter go, yeah. And then it turns out that it is true.
it was true the whole time. Yeah,
It was true time. Like, remember Malachi Black saying, "I've asked for my release from AEW. I need time." Blah blah blah. And then a couple weeks later, he has a hissy fit on Instagram Live. Because I'm going to be back in AEW soon. I don't know where all this comes from. And all these goobers on Twitter are like, "Yeah, you need to listen to him. Listen to what he says." It's like, you freaking dork, man. He's the one who said it. So I chalk this into the column of whatever a wrestler says is a lie, because they're liars.
So the funniest example of this was, it was a couple of years ago. John Morrison left Impact.
Oh,
right?
yes.
And Mike Johnson from PW Insider, and I believe Meltzer too, reported that John Morrison had signed with WWE. They're working things out, but he's going to be returning soon. And then Taya all of a sudden tagged those guys and was just like, you guys need to check your sources and validate your sources and blah, blah, blah. And I remember responding to her. I was like, lady, your husband is the source. He's the one. And I knew that was the case. No, John is telling people, and she knows that too. But she's afraid that he's going to get in trouble for revealing his own information. So she's trying to backtrack on his behalf, and made herself look stupid. And we all knew the truth. And sure enough, he had showed up there, pretty soon after that. But that was my favorite case.
Melissa Santos also pulled that move when Brian Cage, who I believe was still the Impact champion at the time, signed with AEW. She's like, no. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, he had actually lost it, but it was,
did he lost the time? Okay.
He lost it. So it was during Hard to Kill, right before the pandemic, right? Hard to Kill 2020. And he goes into his match with RVD. This is back when Rob was with the Impact, and he has a torn tricep. So they actually did a squash match where RVD killed him in a couple of minutes, hit him with a Van Terminator, knocked him out, and then he ended up having a full match with somebody else after that. I can't remember who it was, but knocked him out of the match. And then immediately, as soon as the match is over, it was SoCal Uncensored. I remember because I had my website at the time, and I was covering the story too. SoCal Uncensored immediately after the match ends says Brian Cage has signed with AEW, and everybody was like, "What?" And then he denies it, she denies it, and then of course it was true the whole time. And then he comes out like a year later saying he was mad at SoCal Uncensored for saying that story. I was like, "You're a liar, bro! Like, you should have said nothing."
Exactly. And that's what this happens repeatedly. It happens so frequently now that the fact that these goobers, I don't know, I guess kayfabe is still alive after all, right?
Yeah.
We complain about kayfabe being dead, but these people believe everything that comes out of a wrestler's mouth. So do I think Bandido's on his way to AEW? Yes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Yep. And if he is on his way to AEW, as we have seen tonight and as has been reported, I don't think that means that Impact doesn't have a shot at getting this guy on some dates.
I agree with you.
I think that this means that we actually have obviously if he goes to WWE, we got no chance. But if he goes to AEW, I think there's a good possibility that we can get some dates on this guy.
Yeah, because Vince McMahon won't forget that you fired him like he did with Mickey James. Want to get him in the Royal Rumble. Get Bandido back. Oh wait, we never had him. But yeah.
Okay, before we get into the reviewing the show, so this is such a funny story. I think Tommy Dreamer
Please.
told the story on Busted Open Radio or one of the podcasts that he was on, but he had been let go from WWE and he was working in TNA at the time, like TNA, right? TNA proper.
Mhm.
And WWE had a show in Philly, and Vince is like, "Well, let's book Tommy Dreamer. When's Tommy wrestling?" And they go, "Vince, he doesn't work here." And he goes, "What?" They go, "Yeah, Vince, you fired him." He goes, "When did I do that? I thought he's been working here this whole time." He had been gone for like 6 months or something like that. And so he actually like demanded that somebody reach out to Tommy Dreamer to see if he could work the Philly shows. And because of the ECW stuff, and so Dreamer had be like, "No, I'm actually under contract to TNA. I legitimately can't work that show."
I mean, when you reach a certain level of wealthy and successful, you become isolated from reality. And it's not just Vince McMahon, but this happens to everybody who's super. You're a UFC fan. Mark
yeah.
Zuckerberg bought a show.
Oh, dude, it's the funniest part of that. This is so yeah. Mark Zuckerberg bought a show. That's not even out of the realm of like the craziest thing that happened. So earlier in the week, right? So UFC has a show at Apex, right? The Apex gym in Las Vegas. That's their personal gym.
Mhm.
So the fighters and the reporters early in the week state that Mark Zuckerberg has rented out the entire facility for him and his friends to watch a UFC. Dana White on Thursday comes out on Twitter saying, "Oh, Ariel Helwani is a liar. It's all bullshit. Zuckerberg didn't do that." And then they get to the show, and sure enough, there's Zuckerberg, there's Dana White, there's all his friends. He had actually done the whole thing. Like it's like the scene from Dave Chappelle, right, with Rick James saying, "I didn't. Why would I do that to his couch?" And then he goes, "Oh shit, yeah, of course I destroyed his couch because he can afford another one." It's the same bullshit.
It's the same thing we're just talking about, man.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. Like reporters will break a story, and then the source, and then the person will go, "No, man, that's not true." And then they hope everybody forgets about it when it turns out to be true. Wow, that's a nice circle back, Mike. Way to put a bow on that. Long story short, I think we have a better chance. Maybe I'm on an island. I don't know if I think Bandido might be better as a guy who kind of comes in and comes out.
You know what? I think there's something to that because in AEW right now, they're having a hard time getting everybody in on those shows,
Mhm.
and you can't push everybody at once, right? And there's a lot of unhappy people. Some we know about, some we don't.
I've heard there's not a lot of unhappy people. I heard there's some loud unhappy people, but there's
loud unhappy people, and a lot of them got offers from WWE recently. But they're obviously, but not everybody can be happy with their status in the company because a lot of people aren't getting any kind of TV time, right?
Mhm.
So you're bringing in Bandido, and it's just like where would you slot Bandido at? And me and you, I think we hold him in very high regard. We'd get him slotted right up there with some of the top stars, like right there in that top 10. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. But I agree with you. I think that he's he could be that guy on the indie scene, the only guy available that's kind of available for anyone and everyone and can make as much money as possible.
Well, I think he can still be that with the nice thing about an AEW contract. And Bandido's a bit of a hustler, right? He likes to do kind of his own thing. And I think he's a guy that there's some guys I think that their star diminishes the more you see them, right? And I think I think there's limitations to what Bandido can be in this country, right? He doesn't speak very good English. He has fantastic matches. But when you're that, and I only say this because we've seen it for 2 generations now. Those guys struggle to stay relevant, typically, not always, but typically on traditional American wrestling television.
Yeah. So and I think I know where you're going with this. It's better if he kind of comes in and out on AEW as opposed to staying around full time. Yeah. No, I could agree with that. And I think somebody on Twitter was saying that if he went to WWE, that he would be the next Rey Mysterio. And it's and we hold him in very high regard. And could WWE absolutely push him and do a good job pushing him with the current regime? I guess it's possible. We haven't seen it yet, other than when they pushed Andrade in NXT, but Andrade doesn't have the mask and he speaks a little bit better English than Bandido. But he did get pushed really well. I think that one of the big reasons why Rey Mysterio was so pushed, A, is he's amazing, but B, is he's bilingual. That's very important. Like, that's a big deal.
Rey Mysterio's from America. Like, he's from San Diego. Like, he's an American. Like, he's a Mexican American. a lot of these guys are like straight Mexicans. Like they're from Mexico, and it's like
absolutely.
Like look at Ray Phoenix and Penta. Like they've been everywhere. They're fantastic. But even here in Impact, right? Penta only had like a cup of coffee in the main event because you're limited. And like this is the point we talked about this on Twitter. I think a Bandido falls short of Rey Mysterio because Rey can do so much for what WWE likes. And WWE didn't even utilize him to his fullest, let's be honest, over these last 2 decades. But he can do the media appearances. Like Bandido could do that in Mexico. He really can't do that here. Now, I disagree with this concept of the whole next Rey Mysterio. I think that's setting someone up for failure to be the next something. Like Rey wasn't the next Mil Mascaras, right? Rey was the first Rey Mysterio. Like in the 80s and 90s, they kept looking for the next Hulk Hogan, and it didn't work. Like it wound up being Steve Austin. So I think that if your Bandido should just be Bandido, and I think Bandido can be like a Mil Mascaras, a guy who stayed super over for decades, coming in and out of places, and not necessarily being around in one place that isn't Mexico all the time. Right. I just think, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of my right now. Like, it's kind of thinking right now. Have him hot run in AEW and then put him in Impact for a little bit. Let him do some cool stuff like Frankie did tonight, and then move him around a little bit. Have him showing up in places. I think that's a better use for him here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's my first instinct.
Yeah, well, good luck to Bandido. I hope he makes as much money as possible. I hope he drives up the price so freaking high between those two companies. He needs to get as much money as he possibly can.
Mike, how awesome would it be to have a high-paying six-figure job, and you don't have to go to work all the time?
Dude, sign me up right now.
Right? All these little bitches that get these jobs and complain because they're not, they're making tons of money and they don't got to go anywhere. Like,
and they can still work the indie scene. Right? A lot of them in AEW,
Brian Cage. Boy, that was a great match this week. I forgot how awesome Brian Cage was.
All right. Well, to Impact now. So we're actually, it only took us 17 minutes to get into Impact.
Gotta get warmed up. Gotta get stretches in.
Absolutely. On BTI, Juice Robinson defeated Alex Zane. And that was talking BTI, folks. Thank you for talking BTI with us.
They're making it harder. they're making it harder, but not super hard because it has no stakes.
Yeah, well, no, but if they just put out that match and not the rest of the show in a YouTube video, I'd 100% click on it.
Oh, I'll watch
100%. That. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So is this kind of a waste of Juice here to bring him in and just have him on the pre-show? I was thinking about it. I was like, why? Because he was in a big match with Moxley right after this, because this was taped a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what's the point of bringing Juice in and having him on 2 pre-shows? And he's a manager and on the main show last week. And I got to thinking, I was just reading the tea leaves. I was like, I bet Juice happened to be in the States and was like, hey, Impact, I'm in town. You got anything for me? And then they're like, well, we don't have anything, but we'll throw you on the pre-show, get you a couple paydays. And then he just showed up and got a couple paydays. That's kind of how I see this thing.
I need a Mike Gilbert conspiracy theory bumper graphic to throw together, put that on the list of things. I think you got a point there.
I need a tinfoil hat. That's what I really
tinfoil hat. Ooh, that's scary. Yeah. That guy. I think you got something there. Part of me wonders too, because I guess he's a free agent. He's not signed full-time to New Japan.
I don't believe that shit for a second. Sorry. I know people keep saying you're right. But I don't believe it.
Yeah, you're right. What did we talk about earlier? But New Japan's not really pushing him a whole lot right now.
No, they turned him heel, and it's just like, meh.
Yeah, but it seemed like they were going to get a renewed push for him, right? It seemed like we were gearing up to push Juice in New Japan, and then that really didn't happen. Like, Juice has been like in this, I remember 3 years ago when he feuded with Moxley the first time, it really seemed like Juice was poised to really break out as like the next big American star over there, and it didn't happen. Yeah. Like, I almost think Finlay surpassed him at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Finlay had that great match with Ospreay recently, and everybody's raving about it. So, but yeah, Juice got the win. Our buddy Josiah, congrats Josiah. He's the full-time Impact guy for Wrestling Observer now. He's gonna be doing all the reviews. Said it was a pretty good match.
Sorry, guy.
And now we go to the main show. Very cool. They opened with a graphic, a tribute image for Antonio Inoki. So that was awesome. Kudos to Impact. Antonio Inoki never really had anything to do with Impact, but That was very cool. So we go to the first match. Frankie Gazarian defeats Kenny King. I thought this was a pretty good match. I thought Kenny King looked a lot better than I had seen him before. The only thing I didn't really like was the finish where Kazarian had him in probably the weakest crossface chicken wing I've ever seen in my life and tapped him out to it. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I agree with you. Why did Kenny King look good tonight, Mike?
Because Frankie Kazarian is a hell of a worker.
Correct.
Yeah.
Frankie Gazarian is one of the best, most unsung workers of his generation.
Yeah, I was in the YouTube insider chat for like a little bit. I had to pause the show and come back to it later, but during the match, I was like, I hope Frankie Kazarian turns heel and changes his name to Francis. I don't know why, and I just laughed so hard, and I was like, "This is so stupid." just to see if I can get a rise out of people, but nobody
Did
bit.
it work? Did it work?
No.
People, I think that's really funny, actually.
Yeah.
This is why we have a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was fine. It was fine for what it was. It got Frankie heated up a little bit for Blonde for Glory. Kenny King is Kenny King. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was fine. But you know what? It was awesome. It was amazing. One of the best things I've seen on Impact in a long time. The highlight video of Kazarian's time as X Division champion in the past and the X Factor brackets with the tail of the tape between Bailey and Frankie Kazarian. I thought this was awesome.
Agreed. More of that. That's something Impact can do. Ring of Honor used to do that. And I always dug the tail of the tape stuff. It's a boxing MMA thing. And wrestling, I don't think utilizes it nearly enough. So with Ring of Honor, who knows what the hell Ring of Honor is right now? Yeah. If they're not going to do it anymore, Impact should absolutely be doing more of these. I like it. Their graphics department is great.
It's great. Yeah. And they used to do this X Factor stuff when talking about X Division title matches. And so I'm glad that they're doing it again. I really thought this was great. It made me get more into the match. And otherwise, it's a kind of a cold match, but they're making it about sports, right? It's more of a sports feel to me. And if you're going to go that way, it's two baby faces going at it. Yeah. Make it a sporting contest with stakes. I like that. If there's no heat.
Yeah, I agree. Matches need stakes. And I think it's a big problem in pro wrestling nowadays is we don't really have an idea of what stakes really are all the time. And this just creating a little tail of the tape thing, it creates a sporting like atmosphere and it elevated it. It makes it feel bigger than it probably is. Because Frankie's not going to win that title, but it felt bigger just having that. Like just having the quick little video package in the tail of the tape. Like I really liked it. I thought that it's one of the more sports like things I've seen Impact do in a long time. And it worked for me. I really liked it.
Yeah, worked big time for me. Next, got a lot of highlight videos just prepping us for Bound for Glory tonight. That's kind of what the show was, just a preview show for Bound for Glory. A highlight video for Josh Alexander, Eddie Edwards. I thought it was another really good, very well done video. Kudos to the Impact production team there. And then another video showing more of Mike Bailey's X Division title reign, this time with Bailey doing a voiceover and highlighting that he had to beat Kazarian to establish his own legacy, leaving Kazarian in the past. So good stuff here.
So when I was watching this, I thought immediately about what you said about turning Speedball Mike Bailey into George St. Pierre. Like that really didn't strike me until I heard this. And I heard him talk and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like I get it. He does sound like you put that in my head and it clicked immediately. I'm like, oh yeah, he does sound kind of like George St. Pierre.
Yeah. And he needs to hit the ring on Josh Alexander one day after a title match and say, I was not impressed by your performance. He needs to do that. That's the famous George St. Pierre line from when Matt Hughes beat BJ Penn, started this big feud between the two. They sold a ton of tickets after that. So they have to do it. Why hide from it? Just go with it, man. Just like, hey, I'm not saying copy George St. Pierre, but copy George St. Pierre.
Because George St. Pierre wasn't like a hugely charismatic kind of guy, but he had this like quiet confidence that, and with the accent and the suits like you talked about, I'm like, man, Speedball should do this because he looks kind of like a dweeb with the hair and the Power Ranger-esque gi that he wears to the ring. This would be a much better vibe for him, especially in a TV promotion. Like, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, Mike's right. Mike hit the nail on the head. Yeah. This is what you do with Speedball.
Yeah, and so George St. Pierre would come to the ring in a karate gi, and he would wear the bandana and all that stuff. Oh, sorry about that. He would wear the bandana, and then you knew it was time to fucking wreck shop. It was awesome. George St. Pierre was great.
It was great.
So yeah, Speedball definitely needs to do that.
Still liberally, yes, big fan.
Absolutely. Next we got Mickey James joined commentary, the commentary booth for Mia Yim's match. Mommy James, Mia Yim defeated Giselle Shaw. It's in a pretty good match here. I really liked it. Mia Yim has been impressive, and so is Giselle Shaw. I think they got something with Giselle here, but pretty good match. A little face off at the end there. What'd you think?
I think Mia Yim's underrated, to be quite honest with you. Like, I think she's had a not just here, but I mean for a while now. Like going back to some WWE stuff, I think she's had a good stretch of matches with some varied talent. I think she's very talented and underrated. Like I was saying before, I think Mia Yim's pretty damn good.
Yeah, me too.
And Giselle's good too.
Yes, Giselle's very good. A video aired for the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, highlighting the previous winners and rules of the match. I thought this was actually pretty effective. And now, so, now that Moose actually cashed it in immediately and won the title, now it makes this match a little bit bigger. And a lot of the people they've announced, other than Swinger, obviously, but a lot of the people they've announced for this match are like bigger in this realm, right? In Impact's world, right? They're a little bit big. So you got Moose and Callahan and Macklin and all these guys, Rich Swan's in it, PCO's in it, and now you got some of the female performers. So now this becomes like more important that anybody could win it, anybody can cash in on anybody at any time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I disagree with getting the knockouts involved. I don't feel like it's more important getting them. I just don't. I don't believe they can win. I think that's where it comes to me. Is I don't believe, if you pro intergender, anti intergender, whatever. I don't believe that they can win this position. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. But it just feels like they're putting in there because we don't have enough people on the roster,
or they're just trying to get everybody on TV and they didn't.
Yeah,
right.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah, as of right now, no woman has ever won it, and I don't see any woman in this match winning it. I just don't see anybody that I just don't see it. So I see your point there. I agree with that. A video aired of this is from Josiah. A video aired of the terrible finish with Killer Kelly choking out the referee when she faced Tasha Steelz, saying that she was going to be the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. And she was sitting on a red couch in a creepy red room. Steelz and Savannah Evans attacked her while the production crew filming her stood on. I like this until that happened. It's like, do I got
to bury
Josiah?
Do I got to bury the preacher? Do I got to bury the preacher?
Bury Pastor Josiah. Yes, please.
Like I love you, Josiah, but it's so funny because I don't feel like the intended effect on what this was supposed to be landed with our friend Josiah. Like,
no,
this is more Killer Kelly being semi-erotic when it comes to all the wrestling stuff. Like, it wasn't just like a red couch in a red room. It was like a red light special room, right? Like that's where we're going. And by the way, it works for me. Love all these. Love this whole thing. I thought it was great. I thought the finish was pretty good last week, to be honest with you. Like a referee caught someone cheating for one, that was fine.
It didn't bother me at all. It was a pre-show match, and
it was
trying to establish that Killer Kelly's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's story. That was stuff has to happen for story. Not everything can be for sport. And I like, and we've made these videos for a while. Killer Kelly is something in these things, and then Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans busted into her special space and beat the hell out of her. I'm like, yeah, all right, way to break the third wall or the fourth wall a little bit. This was great. I thought this entire sequence was really good.
I literally loved every single second of this whole thing.
Me too.
Loved it. Great.
Loved
just
every
hard
second.
disagree. Hard disagree, Josiah.
Hard.
Get your stuff together, pal. Love you, buddy. All right. Video showed Raven's debut at Impact Wrestling back in 2003. Cool look. I really liked the Raven Jeff Jarrett feud from 2003. That was pretty cool. It was chaotic too. I think there was a lot of backstage antics back in the day. Yeah.
Tons. They should have put the title on him when he was hot, right? That was like the hottest Raven. I think that was the hottest Raven ever was, aside from, the early ECW stuff. Like, that was a great. Yeah. That was a great feud. And I forgot how great Raven's DDT was. Just seeing him hit that on Jarrett again. I'm like, that's right. The even flow was really good. Like, and he put his own spin on it. Like, yeah, it's good. Good move.
97 going into 98, Raven with the flock. He was pretty hot. And then I think losing the title to Goldberg killed all his momentum. And he never got it back. He ended up leaving, I think, like a year later. So,
yeah, you're right. It was But it's that WCW, the 98 WCW, he was sabotage, he was sabotaged. But this, like, in ECW, they like embraced him. And then I felt like TNA really embraced him too, but they could have gone all the way with him, but they just didn't. And I think that was, 20 years later, but I think it's still a little short-sighted. I think they should have at the time.
Just a note from Josiah. He said that the Ravens match with Jeff Jarrett for the TNA title was his first ever TNA show that he ever watched. So that's cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Brian Myers was walking backstage talking about how he was going to defend his title in an open challenge tomorrow night. And some weird dude that's been hanging out with Eric Young walked in to yell. Delirious screamed at him about the Twilight Zone and other gibberish, which was better promo than Mini can cut. Man, he really likes Delirious.
Yeah, he's way bigger. He's way higher in Delirious than I am. I'll say that. Although I do like the Delirious promo because he's so good at doing whatever that is that Delirious is. So I'll acquiesce to that.
Yeah, and then Myers then yelled at a random woman because he thought she was the agent for Black Taurus. So a lot of random stuff happened here.
The whole thing made me chuckle. I think Eric Young's recruiting a Krispy Kreme for most of his followers.
Yeah, they're on that Sammy Callahan diet.
Was someone in the chat when they announced Sammy was going to be the referee? Someone in the chat put a picture of a fat zebra in there, and I'm in class trying not to laugh, and I'm like biting my tongue, literally trying not to lose. Who was that?
That was me.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Good sir. I tip my cap to you because I almost got fired. It was so funny.
I had the line queued up. So now I'm gonna still hit my line that I was gonna hit. So as I announce this next match, even though you've already spoiled it,
I'm sorry. We never planned, so these things happen.
Yeah. Steve Macklin defeated Moose with special ref Sammy Callahan looking like a diabetic zebra. I've been holding on to that damn joke the whole show, man.
It's good. It's still good. Yeah. Sorry I stole your thunder. I didn't realize you had a bit planned.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just had the bit planned in my own head. Nobody knows about it, but
gotta let your partner in on the bits, man, so I can work with you.
My bad. My bad. So this was a lot of just kind of a lot of the focus was on just Macklin and Moose just kept beating each other up, and
Gaga.
Callahan. Yeah, Callahan just kept getting the attention on himself being a bad referee, and then eventually he just pile drived them both, and then Macklin pinned Moose. So there you go. Yeah, it was pretty much Gaga. I didn't hate it. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, it was just like the feud's still not over, so I wonder how they're going to end this feud because it's been going on a little while. But this is fine.
I can live with this stuff on a television show, right? In a pro wrestling TV show, you need chapters to progress the story along, and this is fine. Like, this is hardly the end of this feud, and it's whatever. Am I going to remember this 3 months from now? No. But I mean, does it get me closer to Bound for Glory? Yeah, that's fine. No qualms.
Yeah, and then all three are in the Bound for Glory gauntlet, so I think that we'll get like some kind of payoff at the next pay-per-view or premium live event. So Shogun, Jack Price, and Jason Hotch, they're like three of Gut Check winners. They're like the young boys of Impact, I guess. Cutting a promo talking about how they're trying to get into the Call Your Shot gauntlet.
A bad promo.
What's that? Oh, bad.
Bad
Shogun
promo.
Was bad. Shogun is like this creepy, scary guy, and then all of a sudden he's like talking like a normal dude. I'm like, what are we doing, guys?
Talking like a normal dude that refers to himself in the third person. It's weird. Yeah. This whole thing was weird. He's got this very 1980s, like not even the good 1980s stuff vibe to him. Like, I don't know. This whole thing was not good until
so they eventually one of the guys, Hotch, went into the room to Scott D'Amore's office to say that he wanted to be in the Call Your Shot gauntlet, and then Joe Hendry's music comes out and they do the whole dancing routine and the number, and I loved every second of it.
Yes,
I thought
sir.
This was fantastic. I believe in Joe Hendry. I think they should let him win and put the belt on him.
You know what makes it? It's the involuntary clapping, right? Yeah. When everybody claps, they're like, "Why did I do that?" Like, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, when the music kicks in, they have to clap. They can't not clap. It's so funny.
Not do it. It's like that movie. It's like that new Smile movie. Like, you can't not do it. Like, it's with you. Yeah. I can't wait till he's actually doing like stuff in this promotion and actually part of the continuity, so to say. What do you think about these young boys?
You know what? So I've seen Shogun wrestle, and I like what he does. I like he has his whole face painted, and he's got the big Kamala mask and the old kind of like a Japanese samurai robe. I think everything about it. And then I heard the guy talking. I'm like, okay, maybe he needs a manager and just be scary looking and fuck people up. Like, why are we in a backstage segment with this guy? The other two guys, I'm not really all that familiar with. Just saw them get squashed a couple weeks ago by the Bullet Club, and that was it. So,
Muse,
but I
Muse,
know that
yeah,
go ahead.
Muse is real big on Hotch. He's big Hotch fan.
Yeah,
I've never seen the guy work personally.
yeah. Other than the pre-show on Bound for Victory Road, I've never seen him work.
Forgot that even happened. It made such a little impact on Impact.
Yeah.
Definitely don't have COVID.
Yeah, sorry. Next we go to Taya Valkyrie and Jessica. Speaking of sick, check this out. Their new tag name is the Death Dolls. I fucking love that name, dude. That is such a cool name, the Death Dolls. I don't know why I like it, but I'm like, it's so much better than Decay. Jessica, Taya, and Rosemary are called the Death Dolls now.
Yeah, I like it. As long as Rosemary's still involved in it too, like, because she got to have that depth. If it's just the two of them, I don't think it works. But having Rosemary as like a Freebird style thing, yeah, I'm okay. I'm on board. I mean, I think it's honestly, I think it's time to retire Decay.
Yeah. So I had high hopes for the tag team, like Crazy Steve and Taurus, but it's just not working out, and looks like they're doing something with Taurus. So.
Well, and that's a Billy Corrigan creation, right? Like that was Abyss and Crazy Steve and Rosemary. And the reboot Decay just hasn't quite worked for me, right? Rosemary's kind of better. I think she's better doing this stuff than being involved with Decay. I think it's time to retire that gimmick. I mean, it's something from a bygone era in this company that I just don't think is working right now.
Sell it to Corrigan. Just do a trade. I don't think they have anything that we want over there in the NWA, but sell it to Corrigan.
I have thoughts on that later. I'll hold off.
Okay. But anyway, they defeated the Swingerellas. The Swingerellas, interesting look. I think they have to blow into their steering wheel before they drive to the shows here. I don't know.
Did you catch what Johnny Swinger was going to the ring in?
Oh, remind me.
It was one of those like remember the ring carts from WrestleMania 3? Where they had the traveling ring. He had like a miniature version of it that almost looked like a shopping cart.
Well,
and that Zicky was pushing in. Yeah.
He's been coming to the ring in that since the Gauntlet for the Gold.
I know, but it struck me tonight what it was. Like, I don't know what it was, but tonight the bell rang in my head. I'm like, oh, that's the WrestleMania 3 ring cart. Like, again, the Johnny Swinger stuff, you got to be paying attention to some of this stuff because it'll go over your head.
Yeah. Then Gia Miller talked to Vexed, and Peraza and Green indicated he's underselling this. Josiah's underselling this. So Gia Miller goes to talk to Vexed, and Chelsea Green goes, "What do you want, you walking stick of butter?"
What a line! Because she's wearing this yellow dress, right? And it was perfect. I
and then
literally stopped what I was doing and laughed. It was hilarious.
And then after the interview was over, they said a bunch of words. They're going to beat people up, yada, yada, yada. But then after the interview was over, Chelsea goes, "Get out of here. We're lactose intolerant." I was like, oh, she's so great.
Chelsea's firing on all cylinders right now, man. Her promo game has really gotten good. Like, this was... She's such a bitch. I love it.
Yeah,
she's so great at it.
She's great. Yeah, she's fantastic. Next, we got Alex Shelley defeating Matt Taven in a good match. They had some gaga, but it was a good match. You got some outside interference, but they're building up a tag team match, so that makes sense. I really enjoyed the match. I got to say, you know what? Matt Taven's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think he got a bad rap back then. I think he's great. I really dug this.
People are blaming him for like the fall of Ring of Honor when Delirious is the fall of Ring of Honor, and and Sinclair just not giving a shit. But Matt Taven, I mean, in retrospect, everybody wanted Marty Scurll to be the champion, and they kept the belt on Taven. And people are like, "Oh my God, it's the end of Ring of Honor." And then Marty Scurll turned out to be a rapist, so maybe they weren't wrong on that one.
No, and he was overrated anyway.
Super overrated. The chicken thing and breaking of the fingers. Oh,
he was a one-trick pony. Yeah,
big time. He's
one-trick pony.
that is the dude who got famous because he had the right friends.
Yeah.
Because he's not that
Yep.
good. Like, of all the guys that come out of the British scene, that dude leapfrogged everybody for quite a while. And he's got some charisma. I'll give that to him. But like,
He does.
he's not that good. Like, and that's why he's disappeared from the wrestling scene, and nobody cares because he wasn't that good.
No, because like, and I don't want to get into the seriousness of his allegation, right? Because they're serious, but what he's being accused of was not illegal. So I think that if he were somebody that people had an affection for and that was a lot more talented, he might have popped up eventually, but he just hasn't. So there's an argument, and I'm not going to argue that point. I think the guy should be gone. Fuck him. Get rid of him forever. But there are people that are on his side that are arguing on his behalf because of the legal situation in the UK. We don't need to get into that. That's probably too deep for us.
Laws are different over there. Whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's just be real. He sucks. Like, who cares? Like, Matt Taven was the right choice, and Ring of Honor's had a bad business model at the time, and I think he's right at home here at Impact. But I hope they re-sign the Kingdom, because I think we have no tag team division without them.
I do, man, but this next segment makes me think that they might not.
I know.
So a video of Eddie Edwards getting into the face of Josh Alexander when he's being interviewed by Tom Hannafin aired. Alicia Edwards came up to help try to break up the confrontation. She came up to Eddie and said that this obsession needed to end. If he doesn't end his obsession, that they were going to be over. Josiah here smells a swerve here with Alicia joining Honor No More after low blowing Josh Alexander or something like that. So he's predicting that Alicia turns heel, which I think, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But it kind of made me think that they're not re-signing the Kingdom, and that would be sad for me because I like the Kingdom.
I see both sides of it. My initial thought was a swerve, because I think Eddie's just better in this role, quite frankly. We talked about stakes earlier, right? And we've also talked for weeks about how this match is actually pretty cold going into Bound for Glory. Right? This match is way colder than it should be. And I think it's a little late, but I like that they added something to it, right? More than just because it's been weird. Like, they want him to get Josh to join, but why do they need Josh if Eddie wants the title? Like, the messaging in this whole feud has been really off. I like tonight. I thought Alicia did a pretty good job. Like, when she's asked to do stuff like this, she's usually not too bad. And her and Eddie do have a pretty good, which is odd because sometimes you don't have great chemistry with your significant other on camera. They do. They have actually really good chemistry. So I think this could go somewhere. I'm not sure where they wind up going with it. I didn't think about that being a harbinger of the Kingdom possibly not sticking around, but it's definitely possible. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about it. There's been some scuttlebutt online that they might not get signed. They're not part of any of the autograph signings before or after Bound for Glory. So who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, they could strike a deal this weekend. I don't see them fitting up in AEW unless there really is a Ring of Honor. Yeah, unless there really is a Ring of Honor roster, I just don't see where they'd fit in on AEW. And they've been there. Bennett's been there, done that with WWE. I don't see him going back there. So
no. Like, everyone's like, oh, Maria can go back. Like, her and Triple H had this great. I'm like, how? I don't know. That did not go well. Like, I don't know if everybody really paid attention. The Bennett's run in WWE was not positive, right? Of anything. I don't think she's going back, but I think she's trying to. I think she really wants to be the Women of Honor, or whatever, women's booker for Ring of Honor or AEW. We have a mutual friend. I won't out them. Who's like, where is this idea coming from that Maria can book? And I kind of agree.
I know where it's coming from. It's coming from Maria.
Well, yeah, I know that. Well, I get that. She's actually done a really good job of. I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
She's done a real good job of creating a little bit of a movement around that. But where is this idea amongst the fandom? Because she booked a tournament and put the best person over. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I get the idea of wanting representation everywhere and wanting people to tell those stories, but just because you know who they are doesn't make them a good booker, right?
Yeah, and maybe she is.
Maybe she is. I don't know.
I have no idea. But a lot of people are, Fighting's a strong word. A lot of people are saying online that she should get a shot.
Advocating
For her. Yeah. And Maria is out there putting her name out there, trying to get people to advocate for her. And you know what? More power to you, Maria. Go get paid.
Correct.
If it works out for you, great. I could care less.
I mean, yeah, me too. I hope this doesn't, because I just don't see the Kingdom fitting in AEW right now. They're overloaded as it is. And Tony Khan said that if you want Ring of Honor, Warner likes these Ring of Honor pay-per-views. And that's probably the best way we get TV. So he's basically saying we need to sell more ROH pay-per-views if you want to get an ROH TV show. Yeah. That doesn't sound to me like there's a lot of room, No. I think that would be a bad career decision for them. Maybe if you wait till they have a show, sure, okay. But now, I think that's a bad move. I would, as their lawyer, I would tell them not to do that.
Well, I would tell them to go wherever they get paid the most money, and if Impact's not going to be that place, go somewhere else.
Fair. Yeah. I just don't know where else that's going to be.
Yeah, those guys ain't getting any younger. They got to be in their mid-30s by now. It's like go get as much money while you can and put it away.
Maybe they're going to work for Freddie Prinze. He made an offer to Bray Wyatt.
yeah, that guy.
I'm also making a creative offer to Bray Wyatt. Bray, would you like to come on our show?
Yeah. We need someone to be our producer for free. That way we can get someone to click the graphic button that I always forget to click. So I quit loading the graphics part.
Here is our creative offer to you. It has just about as much value as Freddie Prinze's does.
Yeah. Fucking Shaggy. Okay.
He was Freddie, to be fair.
Freddie. Sorry. The show closed with the contract signing, the second contract signing in 3 weeks, and the third in 3 months between Masha and Jordynne Grace. I didn't think this was great. I thought Jordynne, what she said was good. I thought her delivery was good. And then I liked that Masha just said, Masha's going to kill you, flip the table over. But I've seen this a million times. So it was what it was.
The table must have weighed 8,000 pounds because Jordynne Grace, who's strong as a bull, could not push a table off of her after Masha flipped it over onto her. I don't know. Yeah. I did not like this. I just want to get rid of contract signings in professional wrestling right now. Impact has really leaned into them real hard as of late, and they're all the same. They sign the contract, they get into a fight, they say so. They sign the contract, they talk shit, they get into a fight. I mean, do something different. Do a weigh-in, but not in the ring. That was a bad idea. Do press conference. Do something different. Like, these contract signings are so played out, and they're all the same, man. A table's gonna break. It's just, come on, be creative. Someone said Scott D'Amore should be Booker of the Year, and I was like, do you watch the show? Like, it's not a bad show, but I ain't calling him Booker of the Year.
No, the TV show is always decently good. It's
always decent.
Paint by numbers. It's the safe storylines. The premium live events are always very good. Like every single one this year, I've been very happy with. I've not been disappointed one bit, and there were a few of them that were quite spectacular. But I just don't think you can be Booker of the Year if your second biggest pay-per-view of the year only draws 500 fans. You know what I mean? And if business metrics are going down, you know what I mean?
And your world title program is super cold. And who's next?
Yeah.
Right? Yep. We have no one. This call your shot thing has to produce the next challenger, and I don't know who that's going to be.
Well, save that for our preview.